which I'll show you. So you can imagine that he goes there and he says, look, trust me, do this. I know what I'm doing. If people are building something, or if you're selling an idea, and they're unconvinced, then they'll go back to the start and say, what's this all about anyway? It's called skeptical regress. And of course, if you're arguing something, you just want to get the train going, you want to build the building. So the first thing is you want to avoid this skeptical regress. When people are halfway there, you don't want people saying, oh, is this going to, I don't know why we're doing this. So you want it to just roll on. So the argumentative move is to say, to convince people to have confidence in your idea. And so you'll do anything that you can to draw people in. In Netflix at the moment, there's a very popular documentary about a guru. It's called Wild Wild Country, the Rajneesh guy. But one of the things about this guru was that he was a master manipulator of people. He was able to get people to follow him, to do what he wanted. Now, it's not that I'm certainly not trying to encourage you to be manipulators of people, but in fact there's a fine line between understanding how to lead people and manipulating them. So in a sense it depends on your ends. But if you understand what these tools are, then when you need to convince people, you will use them, you see? So that's what the argumentative moves are doing, is to say, look, we want to build this thing. The argument, euthanasia is good or bad, or we should invest in this business, or whatever the case may be, and you want to get to the end of it so that if we fast forward it, we say, oh, you got the idea, boom, 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 they have this fair, and there it is. All right? So you build the argument. Now, so that's the metaphor. Let's have a look at what the slides say. So, the argumentative moves are phrases or sentences, tricks that you use to promote an argument. They include assuring, guarding, discounting and evaluating. The first one is assuring, is saying, look, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Of course you can do it, I am a psychologist, I'm a teacher. Of course he would say, look, I've done this 1,000,000 times before, trust me, it's going to work. You see, you give anything to make people feel confident. Of course, the third one is the negative version. If somebody complains to you and says, Michael, I don't think you know what you're doing, then of course you don't argue with the person, the argument, you simply abuse them. Of course, that's what you'd say, you've got glasses on. That's what a person with glasses would say. You see? What you're trying to do is to squash anybody who's got a negative opinion of you, and say, I am the greatest. Presidents use it. If you have a look at their, the daily YouTube feed, that's what he uses. Anybody doesn't like, they're an idiot. The benefits of assuring is it saves time. Look, I won't explain this, just trust me. I've done this before, just do this. It avoids skeptical regress. The people who really understand that use that phrase, skeptical regress, which means going back to one. In Snakes and Ladders, it's like going back to the first stage. You can use unethical assuring. That is, you can make up things. I am a doctor. I'm not, but the Prime Minister has given me authority to do this. He hasn't, but you can see where that becomes a manipulative, negative trick as opposed to a thing. And the effect of, all right, the second one is guarding, is to make your premise weaker. So the first thing is you want to say, I'm going to build this building and it's going to work, 100%. I know I'm a psychologist. The second one is guarding and say, look, I know, trust me, this is going to work. I'm sure it's probably going to work. You see, what you're doing is shrinking. So if it doesn't work, you say, well, I told you it wasn't 100%. The extent is qualifies, like, most of the time this works. Most of the time I do it, this works. The probability, look, it's highly probable that we'll be able to get this done in 2 hours. This is what people say in contracts. We will, highly probable that we'll have this done by Friday. Of course, if it's not done by Friday, I say, I told you highly probable. It's not. And the last one is mental. is I know and I believe. This is an interesting one which a lot of the speeches use, and I will encourage you to use it when you write your own speech. The thing about I believe, it's 3 degrees off I know. See? I know this is absolutely true, 100%. I know it's true. As soon as you say I believe, you're qualifying and saying, I believe, even though I know I'm not 100% true. You see? So you're shrinking the target. So people can say, you know, they're not arguing with this absolute. The third one is discounting. It's going to work, but it might be not quite as good. You see? You're shrinking the target again. The straw people, you discount easy objections, a bit like the criticism that people have got. And then evaluating goes back to the euthanasia example. This is good. This is going to be a good thing. You see? It's got nothing to do with the chance it's going to thing. It's just simply, this is good, right? This is a good idea. And so you're building it up. It becomes an emotional argument then. You don't have to say why it's good. You just say this is good. All right? So this is it. The tools of critical thinking for the assignment 1. Robert Dilts. Is anyone using Dilts in their thing? One, take it down the back. Kipling's 6th question. That's the simplest one, I have to say. Grice's 4 maxims is an overall evaluation of it. You know, you step back at the argument and you have a look at it. The Brookfield's language tricks are things that you pick up. You probably won't be able to find 10 of them. You'll find a couple of the language tricks that have been used. The 4 argumentative moves, my guess is that you will see them. If you're going to use the tricks, it's useful in the introduction to say, critical thinking, blah, 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 there's a range of tools and techniques. For example, Brookfield's language tricks, use the reference, Grice's maxims, or whoever you're going to use. So you introduce those in the introduction, then you're able to use them in your discussion. And then the literary devices there. So look, there's a couple of different ways that I've presented this. This slide here, I think for the Collaborate session I put this together. The comparison doesn't work. Excuse me. Whatever. It's white. So that's when it's due. 2,000 words, analysis, some questions, what's the topic, critical discussion, that's it. Analysis of each presentation. What's the context? You've only got about 250 words, but you need to say, what is the context? You know, the speech by Donald Trump was just after he'd been elected as president, or after he after the Stormy Daniels things, or whatever. So you put it into historical context. Of course, you've got the Nehru speech, you've got a big picture to try to squeeze it in. The King speech, the Emily Pankhurst speech, you've got to go back to 18, whatever it is, and talk about that period of time. Then the question that you need to address is, what is the aim of each speech? So you've got to know what's the aim of the paper, introduction. What is the aim of speech 1? What is the aim of speech 2? And do they achieve those aims? The comparison then, the structural comparison is essentially saying, to what extent are they similar or different in the way that they try to achieve their aims? A couple of people have had questions about that. That's essentially what it's saying. So a 200 or 300 word discussion, to what extent were they similar or different in the way that they achieve their aim? And of course, typically the speeches uses more tricks or techniques, but that's where the discussion comes in. The conclusions, back to the key topic of the 2 presentations, illustrate this. Their use of tools and techniques demonstrated something about critical discourse analysis. Your final piece of wisdom, which is essentially going to be something along the lines of, what are you going to say at the end of this assignment? I'm glad I finished it. Wow. Of course, all you do is you go back to the first sentence, which was critical discourse analysis as whatever it was. So that's the entry point, that's the exit point. Of course, it'd be useful if at the end of it you say, in developing an argument, it's useful to have appropriate tools and techniques to build it all. In a sense, I can't give you too much advice because it depends on how you attack the speeches. but your final thing, you should have something. The last this is a schematic diagram of it. They should look fairly balanced. You know, the introduction, the two analyses are about the same weight, tools and concepts, comparison and then conclusion. It's a beautiful diagram, I think, isn't it? See? There, I've given you some idea of the format. I'll stick this up on Cloud before I go. It's there in one form. Marking criteria is obvious. The tools I've told you about, and there's this beautiful picture. The one thing that intelligent people are going to include in their assignment is a title. Can I say that? Intelligent people. I had one student show me a beautiful assignment, 12 references, really in-depth introduction, no title. It was a very disappointing front page. The thing about the title, of course, some students say, look, in other subjects they tell you don't put a title in. That may be the case. I'm correcting this one. I'm telling you. The thing about the title is you don't read any books. You've never read a book in your life which didn't have a title. You've never watched a film which didn't have a title. So titles are a thing, right? They're also a chance for you to conceptualise the key idea of the thing in 3 words or 4 words or 5 words. In the example that I gave you a couple of weeks ago, it said, you know, a contrast between a Wolf of Wall Street and a something something. It was a nice dramatic one. Have a go as because the bar's fairly low, if you have any title that says something more than assignment 1, the person who's correcting it will be positively influenced. So, wow, this is a creative person. See? The whole thing is it's an influence process. The whole thing, the critical, you know, like the whole thing about speech is, that's why you have the picture, you know, in the priests with their big hats and all this sort of thing. It's you're trying to influence people. So you've only got, in business, they say you've got one chance to influence people. Only one chance to make a first impression. The first impression is the title. I do this each year, very few people do it, so I'll be very surprised if more than 3 people do it. However, this is something which I'm encouraging you to do. Okay? Now, if you've got any questions, probably the best idea is come and ask me. All right, so I'll sit here. Unless there's any general questions that you've got. It's pretty straightforward. The Turnitin's working, that's fine. I think that's pretty straightforward. Say that again. Right, so the annual report, of course, in terms of the annual report, some people had trouble finding them. If your annual report is 3 years ago, 4 years ago, then you can see what's happened as a result of it. You see, you know, VW 2014, you're not going to write a share price report, although you could put it as an appendix, but you could have a share price of VW from 2010 to 2018. You see what I mean? You're just trying to say, where does this report fit into the context of reality in the place? However, what you're looking for is that the analysis of it is largely what was the aim of the report and how did he achieve the aim? So it's not a technical accountant's report, you know, analysis. It is a language critical thinking analysis. So, you know, and I suggested, I think in week 2, that the aim of all annual reports is the aim is, what did I put that there for? The aim of the annual report is to tell the shareholders everything's cool. I'm the man, mainly, I'm the person who's in charge and I'm looking after it. Keep your investments with us. That's what they're all saying, you know, you might be able to word that differently, but that's it. So I've given you the aim for it, and then you just say, well, how did they achieve their aim? They achieved it by being as boring as possible, so people's eyes go, well, you know. They used it by headings. Of course, some of the reports use graphics. You know, the picture, it's quite an interesting thing for you. The book heavily focuses on graphics. I'll try to include the graphics in it, but if there is a picture of the CEO, that's part of the annual report. You know, there's Alan Joyce sitting there like, you know, I'm the smartest guy running. That's part of it. The part of it. You know, the layout is part of it. But hopefully you're, of course, you know, using Grice. You know, when's it due? This Monday. Okay. So if you've done nothing so far, right, as I presume what you're saying, if you've done nothing so far, then use Grice's thing, you know, that's a nice 4 things. Enough information, enough quality, whatever. And then you look for either the tricks, the language tricks, which is the anaphora and all that, or the tools, the argumentative moves. That's a simple, for those people who are in desperation at the moment. And so it's you see what I mean? It's a relatively straightforward thing. The key brain work is, what is the aim of your paper? What is the aim of speech? What is the aim of a report? And then, you know, whether it's going to be a pass or a credit or whatever will really depend on what you have or have not done in the last 3 weeks. So if you've read nothing about critical discourse analysis, just make sure you have a pretty title. That's what I'll say. All right? That will be a key strategy for you to get yourself over the line. But if you've done some reading, you will be, you know, part of your conflict will be, God, I know so much about this critical discourse analysis and I can only write 200 words. What's going on? So you're going to have to squeeze that in. All right? There you go on. No, it's just the report itself. Just the report itself. Yeah, from the first word to the last word, that's it. It is, yes, yeah. Standard. I mean, standard for all assignments. I think you just do the word count, put it down there. Look, when you read a whole lot of assignments, as I often do, it's a bit like a rhythm. You know, pop songs go for 3 minutes, and you just know, gee, that's long or that's short. If you start to read an assignment which has got 1,500 words, you know by the end of it, because it always feels like, and, you know, because your brain set in. It's much better for you to declare, basically, you know, underneath your name it says 2,000 words or 1975, as this word over here has got, and then it says, Michael, I know I was supposed to write 2,000, I've almost hit the target. That's it. You see, it's perception. You don't put it off and soon after a bad start, you know, they probably won't have the reference loops in alphabetical order as well. Then that's the game. All right. Any other questions? So if you've got any question, I mean, it's all stated in the front here. If you want to talk about your assignment, bring it out. Okay. If there's any specific questions. Done. Next week, systems view, and if we run out of time, if we have more time, I'll show you this Ray Anderson movie, because it's he's the guy. Aha. Have you done anything? Oh, right. So just for the people recording, I'm just going to speak for the people listening to the recording. That's the lecture finished. I'm going to speak to individual students about any questions. If you've got any questions, I'll keep an eye on email over the weekend. But hopefully, there's enough information in the lecture for you to be able to complete and submit the report on the required time. Okay. Woolens. No. There should be see, this is the sort of thing that, there you go, that's what you're after. That is it. That's it. Kaboom. Happy now? See you later. You got the idea? Yeah. So you can refer to the broad report, but that's what you're going to do. Susan, is it? Sissy. So have you thought of a title yet? Yeah. What was your degree in, Sissy? What degree did you get? That's what you're doing now. No, you did it Master of Commerce. In China or in Australia? I don't know. Title, that's the way. Yeah, get the title. Oh, that's good. Say that again? The title's the main idea, yeah, right. And yeah, it's a creative thing, you know, it's like, it can be crazy, it can be, what I'd go for, I just have a look at something. I want to do this. See this long paragraph. You can break it up, break it in half. It just makes it easier. It always looks like you haven't broken up the ideas, and it's too hard for me to read. Okay? Yeah, look, usually, I mean, that's. Follow, it's adhere to. Adhere to is a better word. Adhere. You know what that is? No. You just keep it as it is. Keep it as it is. Yeah, in general, again. Right. Do it with your title. I mean, so that have a think about that. But your title could be something about critical discourse and power, the power gap between speaker and listener. Right? That's a good title. Critical discourse analysis, measuring the gap between the power of speakers and listeners, or something like that. Right? Something like that's it. All right. In conclusion, I guess, look, it's as a quick read, tidy this, this very long paragraph, cut them, and I just give a little bit more thought to. Don't use we. Critical, you get it? Just not we. Critical tools can be used. Third person. Do you know what third person is? Yeah, not I. The aim. The aim of this is just to see category. The aim of this is to analyse and compare a famous speech by her and say, boom, simplify it. But my guess is if you go through this, you can reduce a couple of things using your above-mentioned tool, using a set of critical analysis tools. Boom, right? Simplify. Think. Okay, good on you. Looks good. Not perfect, but good. Yes. Yeah. Literary devices. Right. That's too limited. Because the thing about literary devices is it's a bit like analysing a person and saying, oh, he's got a nice red shirt and he's got a nice brown bag. You see, they are useful, but they're peripheral. So I have a dream, anaphora is very important, but you can't just say anaphora, It's the content, it's the context.
But there is a logos.
Right, okay, so if you use ethos, logos, and that's good. So ethos, logos, and pathos, which I didn't have written down there, is actually simpler than it's simpler than dilts, obviously, and it's also simpler than gross. So if you use ethos, you can do it.
That's right.
Done.
Should I include? I mean, if I use these three, should I include dilts or grace in it?
To tell you
because it will be like a bit more complex.
In honesty, some of the best assignments have actually been focused on just 2.
Yeah. Okay.
But they use just a bit like a bit of chili, so they might use a bit of something else.
All right.
Okay?
Because I've taken it.
Great. That's a good structure. So ethos, pathos, and whatever it's logos is a good structural comparison. Great.
Thank you.
Right. Say that again?
25% plagiarism.
Yep.
Does it inform the reference?
No. You mean the word count? The word count? No.
Just the structure.
Just the structure of the word, yeah. So if I go to this, resources, Assignment 1, and report, star report. Let's have a look at them. It's 2,000 words, isn't it? 2,000. Yeah, 2,000, yeah. Whereabouts is the report? Where's it gone? Where'd it go? Where did it go? Where? This. All right. Thank you. You learned something today. Right. 20 minutes. So there's 21:43. So all you do is you count from there through there. You know, like.
I mean, the plagiarism.
The what?
The plagiarism.
Oh, plagiarism.
Does it involve,
Plagiarism.
Does it involve the referencing? The 25%.
Look. So if you handed it in and got a plagiarism score, no. Look, the short answer is that you do, when you submit it, you have the references in, and so if you have 25 references, for example, you haven't, I presume, have you? No. But if you had 25 references and you use them, that will increase your plagiarism score. But nobody cares, right? Unless you plagiarise. So one of the things is that I'm intelligent enough to, even before plagiarism scores, you could read something and say this is just plagiarised. And so if you've got a lot of references, that will increase your plagiarism score. But it's only when you plagiarise that you'll get above 25%. And that's, look, really, I go and have a look at the plagiarism report once I get up to 30. So there's a fair bit of leeway. Okay? Don't copy anything. And particularly in this one, you can use quotations, but not long quotations and not many of them. Okay? But that shouldn't be your worry. No worries. Yep.
Sir, actually, I have created an introduction part of CDA, and that the word limit which I have successfully completed.
Yep.
39. So I should need to use that.
Say that again?
I have the 339 words.
You're all right, yeah. Yep.
But according to this, it is showing 250. So
No, that was just giving people an idea.
Okay.
Okay?
That doesn't matter, right?
No, it doesn't matter, no. Look, it's just because one of the things I just think that if people are doing assignments, it's better if they just, before you do it, you just set how much and then stick to it. Mm-hmm. You'll find, one of the things we've done 350 or whatever it is, by the time you get to the conclusion, you won't be able to write very much. But the conclusion is very important. So if you just write, and this is the end of the story, you know what I mean? I say, because when I've read the conclusion, that's when I mark the assignment, not when I've read the introduction. So my guess is, without having seen it, 349 can be reduced to 300. Go back and think. Okay?
And sir, the tools which I have used, including logos.
Which one? Right. Okay, that's good. Good structural one.
Logos is the most powerful tool which was used in the Susan and King's speech that has seriously created an severe impact on audience. So we need to mention that thing also. We can also explain it under the Susan speech.
Yeah, well, whatever she's used. I mean, my guess is ethos and pathos, because there's a fair bit of emotion in it, isn't it, in that speech? So, yeah, certainly use ethos, pathos, and logos. It won't be just logos that she achieved it. Because logos is just logic. All right?
Yeah, it's only based on logic
right.
And the credibility.
But it was a very impassioned speech, so that means pathos. Okay?
And sir, I have used two tools
Right.
In
Dilson, yeah, Dilson grass will be fine, but if there is any language tricks, literary devices, include them as well.
like argumentative moves, we can I can easily mention that argumentative moves in the annual report.
Right. Okay. Good.
That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. That's often that's what they say. You know, we are going to do very well unless there's a disaster or something like that. So they use it all the time. Good.
That's
Done.
it.
Good.
So the speech for Elizabeth Chari is not
Yep.
available. I can read the speech, but I can't hear the speech. I think hearing the speech would be much better, and it helps.
All right. You can't hear it. Yeah, but that's because of the speech was when was it done? There you go.
So
that is the choice you've chosen.
nothing can be done. I wasn't able.
Can I go and record the speech that hasn't been recorded before? No, I can't. Okay?
Yeah.
So you just have to, so it's a speech, written speech, that's it. You can analyse it as a written speech. So the vocalisation you can't comment on, whereas if you had the hearing, you'd say, you know, she shouted then and blah, blah, blah. But it's just a speech.
So when I'm vocalizing it, there also I compare it with the critical thinking tools that it's
No, you don't, you analyse it with the critical thinking tools.
Okay, then again in the conclusion part, I compare with both the one is the report and the speech I compare. So the conclusion is it the comparison part?
Hang on a second. The comparison part's separate. You get it? So you're going to talk about introduction, critical discourse analysis, blah, 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 the aim of this speech. The tools, what tools are you using? What tools are you using?
Like I'm still have to do a lot of
You
study.
have done.
I have to do a lot of study.
All Indians are hard-working people, except the one here. Right. So have you got the aim of the paper?
Yeah, the aim of the paper.
What is the aim of the paper?
The annual report you mean?
No, the aim of the paper.
To use the critical thinking to compare each one.
Okay, right. The aim of the, that's it. So then you do this speech, then you do that one, and then you compare the effectiveness of the aims, the tools, the analysis. You know,
Yeah.
to what extent this was better or worse, more effective, less effective. You know, using dilts, this was better, this was worse, whatever.
No, so I was thinking like intro, and then when you analyze the speech, you analyze it with critical thinking tools.
That's right.
And then again you analyze the annual report with the critical thinking
Correct.
tools. And then when you come to the comparison part,
Yep.
it's when you actually say which speech had a more effectiveness on the audience. Is it that way?
No, not well. Look, you can do that. There's a fair bit of leeway, but in one way of doing it is to analyse the context, speech, the tools. This made it a very effective speech. Context, tools, analysis. This has made a very effective report. The two reports were very similar or different. You know, they both were achieved their aims by different techniques.
Okay.
The first one can be seen to use more literary techniques because it was a speech. This one used more logic and cool, you know. See what I mean?
Yeah, I got it.
Both of them were. And then the conclusion is about the topic. That's
Okay.
back here. Forget about this. I mean, you can refer to the speeches, you know, critical discourse analysis as looks at this thing. The two speeches, the analysis of these two speeches identified the key value of these tricks or whatever it was. And then, you know, people who are going to develop speeches, yeah, they ought to use them. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Sure.
I actually submitted it online already.
You can redo it, yeah. So you get a title, 1854, you see what I mean? 1854, it's in the ballpark, but you know, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of hitting the 2000.
I can't put more words
It's here. Cassie Mary Mendoza.
I also used Aristotle's key proofs. Is that okay?
Aristotle's what?
The key proofs that
Ethos, oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I didn't include that in that summary thing, but that was a mistake. That was a... Right, you need a reference for that, though, don't you? I presume you've got one. So this is So this, Locke talked about this, okay? Right, fine. Looking at what at what and how people communicate actually doesn't make sense. But looking at what and how what people communicate, okay, well, it aims to reveal the relationship. Good. Great. Great. Beautiful. Very nice, evocative way, wow. What nationality are you? All right. She didn't expose one of her Holy Spirit, she just used it. You see? You get it?
Yeah.
I just do this one. You know, right on the screen there. She, I'm an opportunity to learn. She uses her experience to persuade it. You get it? See what it's just a slightly different way of saying it, but stronger. You've given the example. She's using her experience to persuade the audience. Right? She's not trying. I mean, that's what she's doing. Right? Personal story is a very powerful technique. Good. See, this you decide what it is, anaphora or repetition. So she uses. So you don't have to say language. Continues to use anaphora. And of course, what anaphora is a method to drive. It's like a rhythm. I've met, right? So it's like to underline this thing, and so to use anaphora constantly with the constant use of "I have met a woman." This repetition. You see what I mean? See what I mean? So you don't call it because you've called it anaphora repetition. It is anaphora. No quotation marks. Anaphora is anaphora. All right, like glasses are glasses. True feelings of this has become facts and gain generous. This easily becomes facts. What do you mean? This reinforces the message. I mean, that's what she's trying to do. You have a look at what anaphora is supposed to do. Right? Why do they use anaphora? And that's the word. You see what I mean? Yeah. Because you look up anaphora and it says repetition to, boom. They're the words you need. Now, this does, see, I've been inclined to break this here, right? So this is about anaphora, right? Mm-hmm. Boom. Right? The use of anaphora, right? Then I just go on to say, so you see what I mean? But you're now moving into the analysis using Grice's form. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
So do it. See what I mean? You got anaphora? Fine. Now you're going to do Grice's, the analysis of, the speech can be analysed in terms of the adherence to Grice's maxims. And then you're saying, why did it meet the thing of quality? Why did it meet the thing of something? Why did you get it?
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to say. Tone, that's good, all right. So what you try, if you introduce Grice, you use all four. Get it? So that's where your 150 words are going to come in. This is a bit long-ish, and you can, break it. Just look at this sentence here. Analyze through numbering. All right. He also avoided ambiguity. See, small sentences generally are more powerful. You understand? When you're in it, manage the gross amount of numerically in order so by highlighting. He used numbering system, right? You know what I mean? He also avoided ambiguity. You see what I mean? It's just as easier.
Okay.
Otherwise, it just becomes exhausting. It's quite a long paragraph.
Okay.
This could also relate to. Get rid of it. All right? See, this could also relate to Bandalucci's message, because now you're moving on to Aristotle. So it's a separate idea. You see what I mean? Break it down. And if you're going to use logos, then did you use pathos and no?
No, because he didn't use any of them.
Ethos. Yeah, you got ethos there? Yeah, but that's okay. So, so then you can say, in a positive tone, well, that is, it's a way of pleasing, that is pathos. Right? That is pleasing. Both pathos, Hillary used that, not were applied to it. You get it? You understand? She used those things, not they were applied to them. That's what a lot of the assignments, they get the things around the wrong way. The speaker used these to get a point. They didn't use her. I mean, you used them as a... Oh no, that's a fair thing. I mean, that is a good point of discussion. She did this great speech, but women aren't all dancing around. By comparison, would be right. Well, I mean, I'd question that anyway. I don't agree with that because he did use. That's why, it was. But of course, it's actually. It's not really use or don't use, it's levels. So logos, what's the other one? Ethos and pathos. That's you get it? Whereas Hillary, high on this, high on this. You get it? So that's what you're looking at. It's basically a scorecard. She used it. And notice how you've got, when I was reading this is quite long. I'd shrink that and I'd build that up because it just, Right, don't be afraid to use references at the end. Same reference. Right, you would have got it from somewhere.
Oh, there.
All right, we'll use it up here though, because that's what I'm wanting to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, necessarily increasing to increase our ability, I think you could say. To increase our. Aristotle's key proofs. Is that what it is? Key proofs, is that what they are? Right. Sure, you know, there's a name for them, but it's not key proofs, is it? Principles, I think. Yeah, you find out what that is, but it's not. Modes of persuasion, there you go. That's what it is. See, you've got to get that's what, I mean, of course, what this is demonstrating is what I was talking about in the lecture, that you've got these concepts and they're not quite there yet, and that's what often happens in this thing. Modes of persuasion provide a useful... So there are actually two different things. Grice's maxims are a tool for analysing. Get it?
Yeah.
Aristotle's are three modes. So I can convince you of something if I use crying, pathos, logic, or ethos. But then somebody sitting over there would analyse my speech. And they say, well, it was high in quality, but it was low on, blah, blah, you see?
Yeah.
So that's what, by using these tools, we will avoid we. You understand that? Third person? You know, you sort of, right, that's it. Okay, so there's some refinement there. That's very long compared to that. I know, I understand what you're doing, but there's quite a bit of repetitiveness of, you in the analysis, you're talking about what they said. Here, you should move to broader concepts. You get it? Why ethos was effective, why, you know, and comparing them. Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, I mean, no, that's it. You've done the work, and so it's good talk, but it needs refinement, and it's what everybody else has is they just can't call, you know, anaphora is just a tool or technique analysis tool or something like that. Okay.
So can I just like resubmit it?
Resubmit it, my word.
Everybody that's started.
We got a title?
No, that's the thing.
You understand that, yeah. So that's, I mean, but like, you know, more power to you is basically, you know, that's what you're trying to say, isn't it? It's a speaker's power, you know, Aristotle, Grice and power, or something, you know, like you make up something, okay?
We're doing this in 3, it says like 1,000 words.
Assignment 2.
2, sorry, yeah, 1,000 words, but then we have to do a critical.
You do these, that's right. So what you do is you write a speech,
Yeah.
and then you do this assignment to your speech. So in this assignment, you had a speech and a report and you analyse them. In the second assignment, you write a speech and you analyse that speech.
I analyze my own.
That's it.
But it says 1,000 words. Does the reflection come to the 1,000 words?
That's right. So you're going to write a speech, which is like Hillary Clinton. Have you got a topic yet?
Oh yeah.
What is it?
Religion.
What about is it? Good or bad?
Both.
Oh, right, okay. Religion. So you're going to write a speech about religion. Whatever. The aim of the speech. You've got to work out the aim of the speech. You have to use these tools. I mean, the thing is, I've got a beautiful speech which I'll show you when we've done that. But it's possible to write this, and you're basically saying literary techniques, you know, anaphora. Grice, make sure I've got the quality rather than logos, ethos, make sure I put in lots of logos, you see? And then your analysis is done. So you write a 1,000-word speech and it goes, oh, wow, that's great. And then your analysis just says, this is how I did this, but you know.
So that would be more than 1,000 words.
No, 1,000 plus 1,000.
Oh, 1,000 each.
1,000 plus 1,000 is 2,000. 1 and 1 is 2. That's long.
Yeah.
They always say 1,000 words is a long thing if you've got nothing to say. It's a very short thing if you've got a lot to say. So yeah. Great.
This is a draft. I tried to reduce it. After consulting with you,
Yep.
I felt like I have to review everything.
Shouldn't.
But I'm showing this to you because I want to know if I did something correct.
Yeah.
Like, we want to stop talking.
That's fine. Right, so you haven't got an introduction, have you? No. So did you know that you've got to do an introduction, or you just know that now? Right, okay. Okay, good. All right, so this is the analysis speech. Right, so this is what I'll be looking for is metaphors, imagery, and motive language. But I'd provide an example or two of that. Spoke for himself. It feels more like a description analysis. See, that's one of the shortcomings. It's not. I mean, one of the things is that you know the speech, right? So that's fine. You always got to do the introduction first, because that would have set you on the right path. Whereas what it's 10. How many words have you written so far? How many words have you written?
1,800.
Right, so that's too many anyway, because you got to have you got a conclusion.
Yes, but it's not.
Right. So, see, one of the things is that look, you use metaphors, imagery, and positive. See, that's like throwing away all the good stuff in one go. What you want to say, King used metaphors as a strong tool. Metaphor of obviously the clothing mountain, but is he giving an example and then talk about that? Then, you see what I mean? No, well, you probably one, but I mean, you might have two examples, but metaphors is a big thing. As I've been saying to you, the smartest, but you should, if you want to learn something from this subject, nothing else, learn to use metaphors, because it's a very powerful technique. But you can't just say metaphors over and over in language. Hang on. You see what I mean? Yes. It's like saying there's a bomb and there's another bomb and there's another, you know. Hang on, just whoa, one. So this, and see how so you just talk about that properly. So what you can talk about is you use metaphors were climb the mountain, blah blah blah, because this is iconic in the speech. This strength and the emotional weight of the talk. You get it? You see what I mean? And, you know, and he furthered that by he added to this with imagery and other emotive language. Imagery such as, you know, whatever, and the emotive language. You see, give examples of it. Whereas it feels like, you know, he did this and this, then he did this, and then he did this, and then, you know, in doing so he presented the leader of the American vision, envisioned for years, when his dream was formed, promise of president. That is the script. That's like, if the subject was analyse the meaning of this thing, an English analysis, that would be it. But what is missing, we're just saying, there's a bit of work to do, yeah. As the above mentioned, that is a shocking word to use anywhere. Because it's bad. Above mentioned, you know. What it says is, as the above, you know, read all the stuff above, just link these ideas together. These techniques, see if you had it, right? These techniques, just on the same paragraph, prepared, right? They prepared you and inspired. They didn't prepare them to pay attention to him. They grabbed it. You see? You see what I mean? He didn't use metaphors, so, oh yeah, well, I think I'm ready to listen. He used metaphors and they were, that's it. I have a dream, you know. They weren't thinking, they were emotionally connected to him then. That's... See, this is a script here. I mean, there's a... His coercion effectively discouraged apathy. Discouraged apathy. It is logically correct, but it doesn't make sense. He discouraged apathy. I mean, he was just saying, go on, you know what I mean? He's not just, don't be apathetic. He was saying, get up there and do it. It's more positive. Kings approach against you, open their eyes, see, this is, look at this. This is, you're doing this, packing all this stuff into there. What nationality? Philippines. You're packing all that stuff into a little island. Can you see what I'm saying? Taking their engages or opening their eyes to the wrong job, consolation, more important, you know. Now, that you don't have to do. That would be in the introduction. That's the introduction. Just get into it.
Oh, okay. So I have to scrap this.
Right, this is purpose, okay, which is fine, but you want to introduce the person and the company. Martin Winterthorne of VW CEO presented the thing, right? The aim of this was to, you see what I mean? Incorporate that, right? And this feels like an essay about the value of shareholders, blah blah blah.
Okay.
Whereas what you want to get into the guts of it, mate, it's about this guy, and he's doing this. What did he do? You see? Right. Right, so that's good. So what's that? Facts, evidence, samples, and large figures. So, what is he doing? Logos, quality, growth. You see what I mean? You've got to categorise it. One had to dig deep through hyperlinks. Trend... What's your name? Bernadette, righto. You look like a very intelligent person, Bernadette.